What's good, everyone? Season 11 is here and Wattson is buffed. To all the loyal Wattson mains, your day has finally come. In today's video, I'll be covering everything you need to know about the recent Wattson changes and how you can learn to dominate with her, whether you're on the offensive or the defensive side of things. I'm going to explain all of her abilities along with the updates so you guys can have practical tips to improve as her, and at the end of the video, I'll let you know my conclusion after playing her for the first day with these recent changes. This is an Apex Legends Masterclass. If you're new here, my channel centers around helping you guys improve at Apex. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Now, normally I'd list all of Wattson's changes up front, but since she's had so many of them in this update, I'm just gonna run down her abilities in depth so you can understand everything that's going on with her right now. So first, let's cover her passive, Spark of Genius. She can stack 2 ultimate accelerants per 1 backpack slot, and anytime she uses an ultimate accelerant, she gets her ultimate regardless of what the cooldown is currently at. For this reason, if you play as Wattson, you should always try to stack 2 ultimate accelerants and pop them so you always have your ultimate available. You never know what type of situation you'll run into and how the ultimate can assist you and your teammates. Now, Wattson does have a second passive, and there's really no name for it, but she does recharge 1 shield per 2 seconds after avoiding damage for 6 seconds. So this is a very slow shield recharge rate, and this does also stack with her ultimate's recharge rate, which I'll talk about more later. But just so you know, if you have like a sliver of shields, it will automatically regenerate with or without the pylon down, and this is part of her passive. This can come in handy if you're running low on shields or you don't want to waste a full shield cell to charge up just a sliver of your shield. Now, with all that said, let's talk about her tactical perimeter defense. As most of you know, she's able to place nodes down and create fences, and as most of you also know, Wattson has been pretty weak for a long time now, and her fences were a big part of that. Luckily, they are much better in Season 11. First, they increased the damage from a fence from 15 to now 20. Second, they increased the stun time from getting hit by a fence from 1.5 seconds to 3 seconds. And this right here instantly makes her fences a bit more viable for all situations for this tactical. Now third, they decreased the cooldown, so you're able to place more nodes down in a quicker fashion. The cooldown has been reduced from 30 seconds down to 15. They buffed the placement range of our fences by 50%, meaning you can place fences further in front of you much easier. And this actually is a huge change because it can assist you in setting up an actual perimeter fairly quickly. Wattson now moves at the same speed as being unarmed when she's trying to place fences, and they made it so that if teammates pass through your own fences, the fences will reactivate 60% sooner than previous seasons. So with all of that said, those are some pretty big overhauls to Wattson's tactical, and I can tell you from playing her most of the day that her fences are not to be messed with. For the viewers who have watched me before know I'm a big Caustic player, and Wattson has a very similar playstyle to Caustic. Meaning if you look for favorable terrain where you can place fences down and bait enemies into them, it will give you and your teammates a huge upper hand. If they cross your fence and you have an angle on them, it's a pretty easy way to secure a kill. If I'm in a building, I'm always placing fences down to create barriers and make it difficult for my opponents to push me. I'll put fences on doorways, entries, exits, stairwells, whatever I think's best in that moment. Some people think you have to play really passive as Wattson, and that's just not true. You can be fairly aggressive, you have to know your limitations, but you want to play smarter than your opponents when you play as Wattson. Anticipate their actions and use your tactical in places where they will try to breach. Now, fences are pretty easy to shoot out still, don't get me wrong, but that's only if enemies can see the nodes. If you place the nodes and they're not in line of sight of your enemies, it will make it more difficult for them to try to destroy them. Or if they're entering a doorway and trying to destroy the nodes, you could catch them while they're shooting the fence and you might get some early shots on them. I always try to put the fence nodes in the best places, so if I'm doing a doorway, for example, I won't put the fence nodes right in front of the doorway, so if they break the door, they can just shoot the nodes easily. I'll place it further along the wall, making it harder for them to actually shoot out the nodes. Of course, if you're in a hurry though, it's better just to put down a fence than try to perfect it. Something is better than nothing in those cases. In the first day of playing, I found a lot of enemies crossing my fences, and I don't know if it's because they're not used to how much stronger these are or they just don't care. Regardless, her fences are extremely strong in Season 11, and I can tell you, Wattson is not to be messed with. If you guys are enjoying this video, all I ask in exchange is for you to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. This helps the video out tremendously, helps push it to more viewers, and I would really appreciate it. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on to her ultimate, the Pylon. This also got a complete overhaul this season. For anyone who doesn't know what her pylon does, it's where she places an electrified pylon that destroys incoming ordnance and repairs damaged shields. Standing near pylon boosts Wattson's tactical recharge rate, meaning she's able to place more fences down faster if she has her pylon down. Some of the major changes they made to her pylon include reducing the number of active pylons Wattson is able to have placed at once. Now, it used to be 3, now it's back down to only having 1 out at a time. But don't worry, 1 is plenty with all of the changes they've made to it. The pylon now lasts forever. If you played before Season 5, you may remember when Wattson's pylon never went away. The major difference here is although the pylon can last forever, that doesn't mean you can recharge your shields forever. The pylon has a set amount of shields it can regen, and that number is 250 shields. If you break that down into armors, it's basically healing 2 full red Evo armors. If you look at the blue bar that outlines the gen when it's out, that shows how much shields are remaining for you and your teammates. They also increased the pylon shield recharge rate by 150%. They made it so that once 250 shields have been regenerated, the pylon will still stay up and zap incoming ordnance. They also changed up some things with how the pylon zaps ordnance. One being, ordnance is now zapped when the pylon detects that it would hit any surface within range and line of sight of the pylon, instead, previously, of being zapped as soon as it comes within range of the pylon. And they also said, as a part of these changes, current issues where the pylon doesn't reliably zap ordnance, particularly concerning airstrike abilities or ordnance that bounced off of surfaces near the pylon, that should now be addressed. So basically, the issues from last season where the Wattson gen was absolutely useless are no longer the case. As far as how and when to be using her gen, well, it has multiple use cases. If your team is getting low on shields, put it down behind some cover and heal while you fight. If you're in a building, put it down for the ability to have a shorter cooldown on your fence nodes while healing or zapping incoming grenades. It's definitely a multifaceted ultimate. Never just put it out in the open because it doesn't take much more than a clip or 2 of ammo to destroy the pylon. If I'm in a close range fight, I can use the pylon as cover or to block doors. If I'm outside and I think there's an airstrike coming down, it's important to place the pylon down so we avoid taking any of that unnecessary damage. This is a great ultimate. It's not super unhealthy for the game. It really fits into the Apex Legends meta. I'm really just thrilled that Wattson is finally back to where she should be as a viable legend in Season 11. So where does Wattson fit into the meta, you might be wondering? Well, if you're just solo queuing pubs, Wattson isn't my top pick, and that's just frankly because of her abilities, not because she's a bad legend. I just would rather have a legend that has some mobility because I can't rely on my random teammates to do the things that need to be done in most cases. I did solo queue a lot while making this video, and it was sort of difficult learning the map and being caught out in the open or being on low ground, things of that nature where Wattson isn't super viable. But if you're playing with some friends, definitely run Wattson in pubs or ranked. I think she's going to be much more viable in ranked and possibly competitive. For the main reasons being that Wattson used to be a top tier pick in competitive because you didn't have to worry about getting a ton of shields. Now that they added crafting, it's a little bit more easy to make sure you have enough shields in any given match, but Wattson's gen can seriously help with that. She can also use her fences because she can hold ground, and that's what a lot of competitive Apex is. It's staying in one spot, making sure a team doesn't push you, and playing in certain areas. So I think you could see Wattson make a return to competitive Apex. I definitely think she's a pick in higher level ranked because of how much they improved her kit overall. I don't think she's necessarily S tier, but you guys will have to stay tuned for my tier list video, which will be coming out later this week. That's going to be it for me on this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my next upload. I'll catch you there. Peace.